Oh, we're on. um, Good morning. I've just had a really peaceful morning, and it sort of struck me that, and the reason why I was doing it is because I do things, especially when I'm off. I've got a few days break. I do things that make me happy, and so the things that I've been doing this morning have given me this enormous self sense of self well-being. And I think it kind of struck me that I wanted to talk a little bit on one of these videos about the idea of self-care. Um, I think within our families, and also within the sort of the wider community, and of course the wider world, there are people that may need you at some point to perhaps support them, either physically or emotionally. And I think that's a fairly normal thing within any group of people. There are going to be people who are having particularly tough times, or they look to their local group to try and give them some support. That's quite normal. And then, so in terms of self-care, this idea that I think if you position yourself within a group, of course you're in a family group, or if you're even in a wider group, such as anything online here, where you position yourself as though you could perhaps support, then I think when in order to be able to do that effectively, I think it's important that you do the self-care. You do the stuff that is going to make sure that you're strong enough so that when somebody does want to lean on you, does want your support, then you are capable of giving it in a very effective and perhaps more reasonable way than being someone that crumbles as well. So we all go into a heap on the floor in a load of tears. So I think it's important to do the self-care, and that's what I've been sort of doing this morning. And generally, a lot of these videos is talking about clearing out, and doing inner work, and building up to a position where you are, you're in a situation where you can help. And the video was twofold as well, because I've been doing a project for quite a while now, and it's based on a book called the Tao Te Ching, which is very, very old, about 2,500 years old, and I'm following a particular translation of this book. And so each verse has an essay after it. So I basically listen to it, write it down myself, do an essay about it. And I'm now of 81 verses. I'm now on verse 80 this morning. And I thought it was interesting that what it talks about is this idea of surplus in this particular verse. And, there is a lot of surplus around. And so, you can sit in your chair wherever you are right now, and you can perhaps, if you're at home or if you're at work, don't take stuff from work, by the way, but there is stuff around you in your life, in your cupboards, in your shed, underneath your bed, in your wardrobe. Some people have a surplus bank account, and they donate, to charity and causes. So there is a surplus there, and this idea that you could perhaps recycle, you could donate, if you need to, you can sell and increase your own sort of abundance there as well. This idea of surplus and giving it out to somebody else that could make really good use of it, then is a way of, I suppose, breaking a cycle of this. Sometimes we get into a situation where we go a little bit, I talk about doing it inner work, but what sometimes happens is we kind of remain in there, and we just go in a downward spiral. And I think what we've got to do to break free of that is move it from a what's in it for me, and I'll look at all my possessions and look at all these things that I have, to a point at which we're saying, how can I move these on? How can I give to somebody else today? What can I do to perhaps recycle and increase the lifestyle, or just the sheer practicality of some of these things could make a huge difference to somebody's life. And so this idea of surplus sort of takes a little bit of momentum there. And you don't have to have physical things in your life. You don't have to have a bundle of CDs that you don't use. You don't have to have lots and lots of furniture or lots and lots of clothes. It's not a case of that. I suppose we get to a point in our lives where we've just got so much stuff that we just don't need half of it, and so we could move it to another charity, or around the family, or wherever it is. And it gives you this enormous, I suppose, self this feeling of sort of this increased well-being, shall we say. And that's not from an ego perspective. Oh, look at me, I've just given this to somebody else. Because part of this particular verse that I was talking about today talks about being able to give without any kind of agenda. A general sense that you want to serve someone else, a general sense that you just say, look, you have that, I don't need it anymore. And also, we need to be looking with fresh eyes. As I said in my last video, we need to look at these mornings that we get up and we feel a little bit of self-pity, and we say, oh, isn't it, is my life terrible, or whatever. And I said, and I also keep reiterating, that's not to simplify people's lives. That's just to say, we need to sort of break out of this and look at it in a different way. And it brings an interest to life, even on a very subtle level. And things, when you look around, as I say, things just seem to pop up for me. My writing space over there, which or where I tend to sort of do some work, is I don't know if you can see it, but there is a picture here. It's actually a poem by a wonderful lady called Orion Mountain Dreamer, and the poem is called The Invitation. It's a very famous poem, and there's lots of people who read it online. You can buy the book as well, but this is the actual poem. And she went to a dinner party one evening, and it struck her that the people that she was around were all, I suppose, of the opinion that what it was to be human in this world is to do with your attachments, is to do with how much money you earn, it's to do with what level status that you have. And so she went home quite frustrated, and she wrote that poem. I'll just get it out. So the poem here is The Invitation. You probably get a terrible glare, and it's probably backwards. But I really urge you to, if you can, take some time to look at what this is about. And it really is about looking a little bit deeper, and being a bit more interested in the personality and I suppose the deeper levels of who we are. So self-care is the real message here, because when it comes to it and somebody needs your help, then you need to be strong for them. And secondly, look at recycling and look at moving stuff on. I'm going to go and have a wander around, because that is my want, and see if there's anything that I can move on, and sort of see if you can make a difference in somebody else's life. And also, it doesn't have to be a monetary thing. It doesn't have to be, as I say, you have to get rid of all your stuff. You could have a surplus of joy. You could have a surplus of happiness, have a surplus in terms of smiles, in terms of making a difference in some small way. So, even from a point of view that there are people, as we absolutely know, the horror that is shown on TV and the news at the moment. There are people with not a lot. They don't have a lot in their lives. Something as simple as a kind thought towards those people. Some kind of blessing that you hope that they get. A little bit more food, or a little bit more clothing, or they manage to get some shelter, or become free from oppression. All these kind of things that we see on the news on a daily basis. So, in terms of surplus, then try and move some of that into the wider world and make a difference for other people. And I'm going to have a go at that this morning. So have a great day, and we'll keep these videos going because I'm having fun.